Burnley currently find themselves second in the Championship table. They're on the longest unbeaten streak in the league, and they've got the best defensive record in the Championship too. And yet a lot of fans are asking the same question: are they actually any good? It's a really weird place to be in. I'm sure Burnley fans are feeling this way right now, and I thought they'd be an interesting topic to explore in a little bit more detail for the purposes of today's video. I think if you were to cast your eye at the Championship table, you're not an avid watcher of the second tier or anything like that, you'd assume Scott Parker's doing a really good job there and that fan base is really happy, but you dig a little bit deeper beneath the surface and that's definitely not the case right now. Burnley fans, I'd love to hear from you in the comments down below, but let's just jump in. So as of recording, after the weekend matches that we've just had, Burnley sits second in the Championship table with 22 points collected from their opening 11 matches. So that's 2 points per game they're currently averaging in the Championship. If they were to continue that between now and the end of the campaign, they'd finish the season with 92 points, which in the vast majority of Championship seasons would be good enough to secure you a place in the top two. After all, that's what Scott Parker is all about. He's a promotion specialist, I'm sure you could call him, having already got 2 promotions on his CV from the Championship previously with Fulham and Bournemouth. But there's always been an underlying feeling with a lot of Championship fans that Parker isn't quite the same standard of manager that maybe his track record would suggest. It's an interesting one, because on one hand you do have to say it's hard to argue with results. Burnley are second in the Championship table right now. They've only lost 1 match, but coming off the back of a goalless draw with QPR at the weekend, there's clearly a lot of grumblings there. Just scrolling through the Burnley Twitter feed after that match, you can see how many disgruntled fans there were on the back of that performance, and I mean, we'll dive into the stats in a second and you can see why a lot of people wouldn't be happy. So coming into this weekend's clash against QPR, Burnley were the obvious favourites for this fixture. QPR haven't had a great start to the season so far. They've struggled to get many points on the board. They're currently sitting in the bottom 3. A lot of people thought this one might have been a bit of a home banker for Burnley. As we can see by the momentum bar here, they absolutely bossed it in terms of dominance on the pitch. The majority of the game was played in the QPR half, but despite Burnley absolutely bossing the ball, that didn't really translate into them crafting out that many clear-cut chances, and this has been a real problem for Burnley all season, especially with a lot of games I've seen of them at Turf Moor so far. To put into context just how blunt Burnley have been in their home matches of late, they've gone 270 minutes at Turf Moor without scoring a goal from open play, which is absolutely mental when you consider the calibre of some of the players that they've got at their disposal there. Taking a closer look at some of the underlying statistics here, Burnley had 75% of the ball against QPR, who were very happy to sort of stand off and surrender that. But despite having all of that dominance, they only mustered an XG of 0.97 goals. They only had 1 big chance throughout the entire game, despite having 22 shots in total. The vast majority of those shots obviously being low quality opportunities, and this has been a problem for Burnley in a lot of their previous matches. I caught quite a bit of their game with Hull in midweek, and this was a similarly quite frustrating performance really. They eventually came alive in the second half when they went a goal down on the stroke of half time, but once again over 90 minutes, not creating an XG of over 1 goal. It was Zian Fleming in the end who got Burnley back into that game, and they did have a glorious chance to win it at the end, which they fumbled. But will this sort of thing catch you out over the course of a full season? Maybe, but it has been a bit of a template of Scott Parker sides of previous years gone by. Obviously, I was at Turf Moor a few weeks ago as a Preston fan in the away end, and I was a little bit disappointed with Burnley's efforts in that one. It's a total contrast to the Burnley side who we saw a few seasons ago in the Championship under Vincent Kompany. My experience of going to Turf Moor that season as a North End fan was totally different to this season. They absolutely wiped the floor with us that year, with the sort of dynamic wingers on either side. This Burnley side under Parker right now does feel a lot more pedestrian and slow, and that's reflected by the lack of chances they're creating at the moment. Once again, against North End, they had no big chances, only created an XG of 0.48 at home. But why are Burnley sat second in the Championship right now, and why are they on the longest unbeaten run of any Championship club? They've not lost any of their last 9 Championship matches, which isn't something to be sniffed at. Well, it's largely thanks to this. Their defensive record has been absolutely sublime up until this point of the campaign. They've only conceded conceded 5 goals in their opening 12 matches. That's an average of 0.41 goals conceded per game, and if they were able to maintain that ridiculous ratio between now and the end of the season, they'd only concede 19 goals throughout the entire campaign, which is 46 games long. And I mean, in a league as competitive as the Championship, that's absolutely bonkers. In terms of possession, Burnley are one of the top sides in the league right now, as you'd expect, currently averaging 57.8% possession, but that's not translated into clear-cut chances or, let's face it, any excitement for the fans, really. I think undoubtedly, if you're a Burnley fan right now, the most worrying number are the underlying attacking numbers. Let's take XG, for example. In Burnley's opening 12 matches, they've only mustered an XG of 12.73, which is pretty shocking, to be honest with you. Only Portsmouth and Plymouth have created an XG lower than Burnley have so far this season, which seems absolutely mental with them currently sat second in the Championship. But ultimately, underlying numbers will only get you so far. For example, Millwall are second in this XG table, with only Leeds who have created more than them so far, and they're not exactly a side who we consider to be a top Championship outfit right now. But there's definitely a scenario, and we've seen it countless times throughout Championship history, where these underlying numbers do catch up with you over the course of a campaign. Now, I think there's every chance that Burnley improve on this in the coming weeks. I think they'll have to if they want to sustain a title push this season. But if they continue to be as uncreative as they have been in their opening matches, they continue to get these frustrating goalless draws, especially at Turf Moor, you're going to just bubble up the frustration there, which you can tell is already building in a little bit. Now, it does have to be said, in terms of the underlying XG numbers, Burnley are one of the best defensive sides in the Championship. They don't allow a lot of high quality chances to the opposition. This is one of the reasons why they've barely conceded any goals so far this season. They've been the 5th best side in the league so far this season when it comes to limiting the opposition to few chances. But I think when you're a fan base like Burnley, you've been treated to the highs of Vincent Kompany football a couple of years ago in the Championship. This is just a stark contrast to that right now, and especially with the players at his disposal, which you feel like there's so much more to come from some of them. Scott Parker will continue to be a bit of a polarising boss, with people having very conflicting views of him. But I mean, as we can see here, his overall points per game record in the Championship isn't to be sniffed at. Of the managers who have managed over 50 Championship matches since 2004 in the Championship, only Daniel Farke and Marcelo Bielsa have a better points per game record than Parker does at this level, which is really impressive. You know, he's managed 103 games in that time. Burnley fans, I'd absolutely love to know where you stand on this right now. After another goalless draw with QPR over the weekend, you sat second in the Championship right now, but is this sustainable with the way you're currently playing, and what tweaks need to be made in the coming weeks for us to see a little bit more goal-mouth action from you, perhaps? But guys, there we have it. That will now wrap it up for today's video. If you are a Burnley fan or just a general fan of the Championship in general, do get your thoughts on this one in the comments down below. If you are new around here, do subscribe as well. The top of the Championship, I think, is really fascinating right now. At the start of the campaign, Burnley were rightly tipped as one of the favourites for the league. They're still in that position right now, but there is an underlying feeling, not just within me, but within the fan base, that more needs to come from that side before we'll be properly convinced by their promotion credentials. Thank you very much for tuning in to today's video though, guys. Do drop a like if you want to enjoy, and I'll see you all in the next one.